Welcome to 8th grade history. I'm Miss Kelly, and in this class, we will be spending our time analyzing America's history. Now, in my opinion, American history is pretty much the most interesting time period that you're going to be able to go through. And so, for that reason, I've got three big goals. My first goal is for your kid to just learn about America's past and how it shaped both our present and what's going to be happening in the future. I also want them to be able to do this while loving learning about it, not just memorizing dates, memorizing people, but to love what they're doing. Although, yeah, they're going to have to memorize that stuff too. And finally, my end goal is for them to become responsible, eventually voting citizens who can positively shape our nation because they are our next generation of leaders. Within the first quarter, we've got four major units that we're going to be able to discuss. In the beginning, we're just going to talk about what life was like in this new land as they explored and made colonies. We'll take a short little detour so that we can talk about Celebrate Freedom Week, which is where we study about September 11th. We'll move into the American Revolution. I like to call that restlessness to rebellion because that's what was going on there. And after the American Revolution, that takes us into how we were able to create a perfect union, which would be with the writing of the Constitution. Following the first quarter, in the second quarter, we're going to start off with, okay, we have a Constitution now. What is the government actually going to look like? So the different branches of the government, checks and balances, how it functions in general. Once our nation is set, man, we found that we had lots of issues to deal with. And so in Unit 5, we'll talk about how they addressed those challenges. And once those challenges were going well, democracy is going to start expanding under Andrew Jackson. Moving into the third quarter, we are going to begin with westward expansion and manifest destiny. We'll be able to compare and contrast what was going on with the North with their industrialization of factories, and in the South with the agriculture and the slavery aspect. And finally, in third quarter, we'll kind of touch on the reform era, the things that were going on in the culture and society of the time. In fourth quarter, we will start talking about how the North and the South became very sectionalized. They were loyal to their area, and how part of that ended up leading to the Civil War. Post-Civil War, we have to rebuild the Union. So we like to call that Reconstruction, and that is where we will end our American history for the year. After that, we will move straight into a STAR review. I'd like you to know that the STAR test is on May 14th of 2020 this year, and so that's our final destination for the year. Now, along the way, your student might need some tutoring. I'll be here every day, and I'll be available from 7:30 sharp until 8 a.m. to work with your student, whether it's just questions or maybe they need a quiet place to come in and study, but I'll be here during that time. Wednesdays during lunch, I'll call kids to me, and I don't mind after school, but because I'm going to be doing robotics and I really don't know what the schedule looks like at this point in time, I'll just need them to let me know when they're wanting to stay, like what day. I think my expectations are pretty basic. I need you to be a decent human being. That's my goal. So part of that would be respectfully participate in class discussions, because everybody doesn't have to agree. It is okay to disagree and to be able to discuss things openly and like adults. They need to be learning this. Next, I rarely give homework. I mean, if they don't finish their classwork, they might have to bring it home. But basically, just do your classwork and all will be good. Use your time wisely because that benefits you when it comes to finishing that classwork. And then if you're absent, it's your responsibility to get your work from the red hanging file folder at the front of the room. Finally, work hard, be kind. That pretty much covers everything. Our grading policies are the same in every class across the whole campus. Anything that's a minor grade, a daily grade is worth 50%, and anything that's a major test or a project grade is going to be worth 50% as well. Something really special that Van Alstyne allows is that students can correct any of their daily work or even their tests, and they can earn back half of their credit. It's up to your student, though, to come to me and to ask for that privilege. And I have no problem giving it to them. I think it's a really neat program. On Wednesdays, I'll be assigning a brief out-of-class assignment. It's going to deal with whatever we've been talking about in class. They'll have the entire week to work on it. It'll be due the following Wednesday. I don't care at which point they finish it, just as long as on Wednesday it is done and ready for me to grade. Now, some people might want to know, how can you help your students? Here are just some ideas. First of all, Quizlet. A lot of our learning is going to deal with vocabulary, and some of the words they don't know yet. They haven't really been exposed to. Your student will use a Quizlet account in class, but they can work on any of this at home as well. I'll put the study sets in their Google Classrooms, but you can access it from a computer, you can access it from a tablet or a phone. There's even an app. I'm not sure if the app works on anything that's not an iPhone, but you could always look into that. Another thing, just check the grades pretty often. My daughter has had her own gradebook login for years. She kept up with her own grades. Honestly, I'm sure a lot of your students would appreciate that information as well. And finally, just talk to them. Talk to them about what we're learning in school. Talk to them about what's going on in the world around them. Talk about the news. Just talk to them. If you need to contact me, here's my email, the phone number, and if you'd ever like to get together for a conference period in person, it's anytime between 10 to 10:45. I really am very excited about teaching your students this year, and thank you for sharing them with me.